You likely know someone who earns an exceptional salary, a doctor, a senior partner, or an executive, yet lives paycheck to paycheck. Their massive income enters their bank account and disappears instantly into a high-consumption lifestyle. Meanwhile, someone earning a fraction is quietly building a million-dollar fortune. Earning a high income and building wealth are completely different mathematical operations. The proof lies in the data. To map the actual behavioral patterns of the wealthy, researchers Thomas Stanley and William Danko spent 2 decades analyzing vast swaths of IRS estate files and conducting thousands of behavioral surveys. Multiply your age by your pre-tax income and divide by 10 to find your expected net worth. Exclude inherited wealth. Having double this expected figure makes you a prodigious accumulator, a PA. Less than half makes you an underaccumulator, a UAW. The statistical middle is occupied by the average accumulator of wealth. But to understand the mechanics of net worth, we have to look exclusively at the extreme ends of the curve. Becoming a prodigious accumulator doesn't require an Ivy League degree, a 6-figure salary, or a trust fund. It requires the strict execution of a highly specific, reproducible behavioral architecture. To understand how this architecture works, we have to permanently decouple the concept of being rich from the act of generating a high income. Consider 2 men from the survey data, James Ford, an attorney, and Bubba Richards, a mobile home dealer. Their baseline metrics are nearly identical. Both men are roughly 50 years old. Both earn an annual household income between $90,000 and $92,000. According to our equation, both men carry an expected net worth of approximately $460,000. The actual data reveals a discrepancy. Richards, the blue-collar dealer, holds $1.1 million as a prodigious accumulator. Ford holds only $226,000. Ford suffers from status taxation. His high-status profession forces him to burn capital on luxury cars, country clubs, and an upscale residence. Richards operates in a dull, normal business environment. His peers and clients expect him to wear work clothes and drive standard domestic vehicles. He faces zero social pressure to engage in conspicuous consumption, allowing him to retain and compound nearly all of his surplus capital. This dynamic explains a glaring statistical reality. Self-employed individuals make up less than 20% of the American workforce, yet they account for 66% of all millionaires. Look at the specific profiles that dominate the millionaire data pool. They are welding contractors, auctioneers, pest controllers, and paving contractors. But these lucrative blue-collar domains are rarely passed down. The founders of these businesses almost universally push their children away from industrial work and towards status-heavy academic paths. This creates the assimilation effect. By encouraging their children to pursue extended education to become doctors, lawyers, or corporate executives, these wealthy founders inadvertently delay their children's entry into the workforce while simultaneously socializing them into a high-consumption lifestyle. High-status expectations act as a mathematical barrier. They force high earners to overconsume, severely limiting their ability to ever become prodigious accumulators. This data directly contradicts the cultural assumption that American wealth is primarily inherited. Over 80% of American millionaires are first-generation affluent. More than half received exactly $0 in inheritance. This chart breaks down millionaire concentration by ancestry group. The English ancestry group, the earliest European settlers, only ranks 4th. The top 3 positions are held by the Russian, Scottish, and Hungarian ancestry groups, which vastly outperform the rest of the country in millionaire concentration. These 3 groups share an overlapping cultural operating system. Their economic behavior is strictly defined by an intense entrepreneurial drive combined with severe hyperfrugality. They excel at financial defense. They purposefully construct an artificial environment of scarcity around their households to protect their capital from lifestyle creep. The strict behavioral rule of the prodigious accumulator is to divert a minimum of 15% of their realized income directly into investments before a single dollar is spent on consumption. Underaccumulators invert this process. They spend their income to maintain their lifestyle first and then attempt to invest whatever leftover cash remains at the end of the month. Usually, there is none. This defense extends to status artifacts. Half of surveyed millionaires never spent over $399 on a suit. The irony?
Primary purchasers of $1,000 suits are non-millionaires, earning $50,000 to $200,000, buying wealth artifacts to signal an unachieved status. The data holds true across the board. The typical millionaire is 4 times more likely to hold a Sears or JCPenney credit card than an American Express Platinum or Neiman Marcus card. Look closely at this environment. This is where the typical millionaire lives. They choose neighborhoods that remain entirely under the radar, actively avoiding areas with high consumption expectations. Prodigious accumulators intentionally live below their means because they prioritize the structural, mathematical integrity of their wealth over the external display of it. The final behavioral metric dividing accumulators from underaccumulators is how they allocate their most finite resource, time. This visual compares the monthly hours spent purely on financial management and investment planning. Prodigious accumulators dedicate 8.4 hours a month to this task. Underaccumulators spend roughly half that time. Consider a specific case study in purchasing habits between 2 high-earning doctors, Dr. South, an underaccumulator, and Dr. North, a prodigious accumulator. Dr. South wanted a new $65,000 Porsche. He spent 60 hours exhaustively researching the dealer costs, contacting every dealership within a 400-mile radius, and aggressively negotiating to secure the absolute best purchase price. Dr. North needed a vehicle and spent exactly 2 hours locating and purchasing a 3-year-old diesel Mercedes that had already absorbed its steepest depreciation hit. Dr. North then took those 58 saved hours and redirected them into studying equities and investments, specifically within the medical sector, an area where he already holds deep, actionable expertise. Underaccumulators consistently exhaust their mental energy tracking prestige purchases, upgrading primary residences, and monitoring status symbols. Prodigious accumulators view FIME strictly as a return on investment calculation. Time spent researching and buying a depreciating asset is treated as a double loss. You lose the capital to depreciation, and you lose the hours that could have been spent compounding your wealth. Underaccumulators exhaust their time optimizing their consumption. Prodigious accumulators weaponize their time to optimize their capital returns. Extreme financial defense, high time allocation to planning, and the absolute rejection of status signaling. These 3 pillars form the unbreakable foundation of true wealth accumulation. The media-driven cultural archetype of the flashy, hyper-consuming millionaire is a statistical illusion. Those individuals exist, but they are numerical anomalies, sustained only by exceptionally rare income streams. The ultimate goal of the prodigious accumulator is not the hoarding of capital. The goal is the engineering of a system that guarantees personal freedom. The baseline metric for this freedom is absolute, the ability to maintain their exact current lifestyle for 10 or more years without receiving a single paycheck. Adopting this system demands immense patience and rigid consistency. It requires you to actively ignore the temptation of quick wins, extreme financial leverage, and overnight success schemes. True wealth is intentionally invisible. It is highly mathematical, and it operates as a quiet, disciplined rebellion against the modern trap of